Everybody Hates Rand is a Wheel of Time podcast that will contain spoilers for all 14 books. So if you're anti-spoiler, stop this, read all 14 books, and come back. We'll be here, waiting.
Our title is a joke and is meant to be taken as such. Everybody in this context refers to us and our cats. You are free to feel however you want about Rand. He's a fictional character. Please don't DM us.
The world is a mess, Dark One stretching out his hand. The dragon's reborn, the fire's been fanned, but everybody hates Rand. Everybody hates Rand. Everybody hates Rand.
Okay, there we go. Just Eddie's crunching in the background.
Yeah, I'm sorry if you can hear. If you hear something that sounds like bones crunching, know that it's just Ed eating his special prescription kibble for his gastrointestinal bio.
It does sure sound like bones, though. It sounds like bones in a way that Tybalt's equally hard food does not.
Yeah, I don't know if it's... We talk about this all the time, but Ed has, like, no teeth, so he has to...
Really gotta rustle the food around.
Throw the kibble to those back molars, and I don't know if the crunch is just... Or he might just be a loud eater, and we shouldn't shame him for that, I guess.
Hi, this is Everybody Hates Rand, your friendly neighborhood Wheel of Time podcast. I'm Emily Jushaw.
And I am Sally Gutcher.
And...
I'm sorry, I'm trying to distract because I don't want to talk about Tuon.
Well,
but I signed up to do this
bad.
podcast, so...
You didn't know about Tuon.
You're right.
You were
I was
ignorant.
scammed.
I'm the only one who signed up fully knowing. And I was like 23, so
Yeah,
I was an idiot.
Yeah.
Okay. We kick it off with a Tuon point of view as the Shanshan are still getting ready to go into battle. It feels like they're just mobilizing for forever.
Yeah.
Matt is running around trying to make it go faster, but unfortunately he's not technically in charge.
Yeah.
Which seems like a backtrack of the most recent thing we heard.
Yeah.
Which is that the Prince of the Ravens gets to command the armies. So I'm like, okay, why couldn't we have just stuck with that? But instead, for some reason, we have to have Shanshan politics still. Like...
I think that is it. I'll go get it.
Every once in a while, you just hear Ed screaming in another room, and it's because he is sexually attracted to some of our plushies, our stuffed animals. Ed?
That was a naughty behavior.
Don't waltz in here. Horny.
Just show you this fucking TikTok Brianna sent me about Ed. It's not Ed, but it's about Ed. Yeah, it was confusing to me too, because everything I'd been led to understand at this point was that Matt was in charge of the armies, like even more so than Tuon, you know?
Yeah, instead we find out that the official ranking is Tuon is technically in charge, the way I guess the president is the commander-in-chief.
Right.
Sort of a nominal thing. Then it's still General Galgan, and then Matt is below that, and Tuon sort of does a power play on Galgan in this chapter and makes it so that Matt is, like, officially his... What's the word for someone who, if an actor gets sick, then they take over?
Understudy?
Yeah, Matt's his understudy. So he has to be in all the meetings and stuff.
His official title is the Rod Holder, I think. And
so phallic. Might as well have been cock warmer. Like, what are you fucking talking about?
I was like, what?
The rod holder?
The knob holder? Like, what are we doing? What rod is he holding?
I think we know what rod he's holding.
It was just, not to be a 12-year-old boy in the chat today, but it was really cracking
How else am I supposed to get
earlier.
through this except by imagining that there is a designated person who has to just sort of be like, yeah, I'm here to...
In every meeting, Matt just has his hand on Galgan, the front of Galgan's pants. In an official capacity, of course.
Yeah, he's like, this is purely professional. And not a porn at all. This really does feel like the start of a porno. Between the fucking Knob Hill or whatever on the Fields of Marilor map.
Oh, yeah.
And that Matt's new name is Not-I, which I just has the word not in it, and I've been thinking about the Omega verse a lot, so
no tie.
there we go.
Not tie.
No tie? I don't know.
I don't know. It starts with a K. If Kanatai.
Yeah, we don't know if the K's silent. We'd have to consult a pronunciation guide, and
Which,
God
don't do it,
forbid
Emily.
we do
No.
that.
No.
Does this book even have one?
Oh, Brandon said it's too long already. Actually,
doesn't,
the
yeah.
publishers probably were like, no.
The publishers were like, if you're reading book 14 of The Wheel of Time and don't know how to pronounce the names, then what are you doing? And we were like, well, we're going to start a podcast and not pronounce
I've
the names
never
correctly.
looked at the pronunciation. I think we've looked at it like twice.
Yeah, but only for like lols. Just to see how we're supposed to, and then continuing to not do that. Yeah, I guess we could live in the Wheel of Time companion, but I shan't. It's too far away.
Yeah, so Matt is running around trying to be like, can you guys please listen to me? And they're all like, it is a scene where for once I like very much sympathize with Brandon Sanderson, Matt, where you're like, you just got told you now have this big army to get to the last battle, and it's like, okay, let's fucking get there. But Matt, very much in the like scenes we get of him, it's like him running around a little bit like a goofy chicken with his head cut off, swearing at everybody, generally being improper.
Tuon very unsubtly reminds us that Matt is representative of chaos and that she is representative of order. She's like, I can't believe I've done this. And I'm like, you guys need to leave some things subtextual. I don't know how to tell you that it actually makes the narrative worse when you are just like, here's the symbolism. Symbol equals
She's
symbol.
like, I am the pinnacle of order itself, and I have married chaos itself. And I was like, okay, first of all, no, you didn't. Matt's a bootlicker now, so he cannot be a chaotic
yeah,
trickster
if you'd
figure.
married book 4, Matt, then sure, maybe,
But Tuon probably says order about 40 times in this chapter, and it's like, Brandon, I understand.
Brandon, we get it.
Brandon, themes are for 8th grade book reports.
Brandon, did you even watch Game of Thrones? For the love.
Yeah, so Emily's exactly right. Like, Tuon throughout the scene is sitting on a throne, very composed, while Matt's running around, and it's supposed to be like, order and chaos, order and chaos. How will they come together to make the world a better place, or to find the infamous Wheel of Time balance? Mm-hmm. And it's like, I don't really care.
I don't, yeah.
Tuon references briefly, she's like, Matt, I might have to kill him after I am pregnant with his child.
And we're all just supposed to be like, okay, like, what?
I just think the, like, world building of the Shanshan Empire is so weird.
It's so unserious. It's like, no one believes this.
Yeah, Tuon's like, the Prince of the Ravens is supposed to, like, help the Empress.
He's supposed to be... Tuon basically is like, the checks and balances system of the Shanshan Empire is the constant assassinations. And I'm like, yeah, and that has worked great in history. I'm not saying that the checks and balances system of, say, American democracy works great either.
Right.
Just that government is an ongoing project that humanity is trying to figure out.
Right.
And that one we have pretty much decided don't work great.
Just, constantly trying to
Sort of
assassinate
killing each other. Yeah, she's like, if someone manages to assassinate me, then that proves I'm weak and don't deserve to be the Empress. And I'm like, hey, what? Is that what you have to tell yourself at night to, like, get through the day?
Yeah.
Is to just be like, if someone kills me, then it's my fault. Like, I mean, if someone kills you, it's because you're an evil bitch.
Yeah. It's because you're...
Or because someone else is more power hungry. You know, there's no real sense to most assassinations, so...
Yeah, it's pretty fucking bleak for Tuon to be like, Matt should be trying to assassinate me in order to be as a knife to my throat. And
to strengthen the Empire. And I'm like, every time you say the Empire, I die a little inside.
Yeah.
I feel like it's a knife to my throat.
Yeah. Listening
to you talk about the Empire.
Anyway,
important things going on. Tuon references a couple of times that Seleucia is acting as both her truth speaker, the person who's supposed to be able to reprimand her in public, and her voice, the person who is literally supposed to speak for her. That is a position that probably shouldn't overlap, and Seleucia is not enjoying it, nor is Tuon, so Tuon's kind of like, oh, I might need someone else, so put a pin in that. Unfortunately, this is sort of indicative of the whole, like, we are going to be having enough Matt and Tuon points of view that the authors have felt the need to throw, like, Shanshan politics into this, the same way that they have thrown normal continent politics into our other points of view involving, like, generals and monarchs and things like that, the way Lan behaves with the other borderlanders, stuff like that. Of course, we don't care about the Shanshan, and we all are, at this point, pretty transparently aware of where the Shanshan need to be and what they need to be doing. So this just feels like a delaying tactic, which is obnoxious. But anyway, Tuon, despite being like, I have no idea if this will work out, is like, I will myself do a gamble, she says, on Matt, and promote him, as well as give him a name change, which in the Shanshan culture is more or less indicative of a promotion. Now he's more on equal terms with her or something. She's like, Matt's gonna react so badly to having his name changed, and Matt's like, I kind of like it, and bounces off. And you're like, permanently though, Matt?
Yeah, like, all in for name changes for anybody if that's what feels right and good to you.
But having a name change assigned to you is a little
By
insane.
your boss? By your boss wife?
I just want someone to push back against this.
I know.
Like, Edgianen just went for it so fast.
Right.
Girl, I needed you to have a spine and you didn't in that moment.
And it, like, it's an interesting, if we want to, like, put the most positive spin on it with Edgianen, it's, like, a good representation of, like, an indoctrination mindset that even if no one from the group into which you are indoctrinated is watching you, you still behave as though they might be.
Yeah.
However, I don't think that's the project, or maybe I'm just not being very generous to Robert Jordan. I think it was more just, like, the Shanshan. But it is frustrating with Edgianen, even long after she even gives a fuck about the Shanshan Empire. She's like, my name is Leilwyn.
Yeah, the project with Edgianen is supposed to be, I thought, someone distancing themselves from the Shanshan Empire. Yeah. So the fact that she goes with the name change is very, like, antithetical to that. And Matt, I think the most intriguing thing he could have done would be to just say no and have that function as the quote-unquote knife to Tuon's throat.
Yeah.
Just be like, he resists her power in other ways. And I think that would have been better in terms of indicating what their relationship would be like after the last battle, etc., etc. Of course, Brandon Sanderson, when given two options involving Matt, is always going to go with the comedic one. So, comedically, it is kind of funny that Matt is just like, yeah, I have no real attachment to my name.
Yeah.
Okay, whatever. Wifey is gonna call me. She's weird. But, as they are sort of running around, they get news that Edwin's army is on the ropes. And Matt is like, let's go. That's where they need us. And Tuon's like, and Matt's like, girl, you literally signed a fucking treaty. And she's like, well, I can break a treaty. And Matt's like, what is the function of it? What's the point of a treaty if you signed it 5 minutes ago?
Yeah.
Could you also have a spine?
Yeah.
And Tuon's like, all right. And they're gonna go rescue the Aes Sedai, I guess, which I bet Edwin will be thrilled about. We then bounce over to Lan.
Unfortunately.
So obnoxious. Mostly what we're getting this from the next few points of view is that there is a solar eclipse happening. It actually started, I think, in the last section, and we just forgot to mention it. Like, Avienda noticed it starting while in Thakandar. And I can't remember. I guess this eclipse will just last until the end of the last battle.
No, it passes.
Really did it already?
It passes really quickly, I think, is the understanding.
I just was like, wait a second, I can't fucking remember.
I think because I guess also, I don't know if anyone on this planet has ever seen a solar eclipse.
Yeah,
because
they all
everyone
act
is like, hey, it's just night forever now.
They're like, someone killed the sun!
Yeah. Which, I don't know, maybe if you're fighting the last battle, it's not unreasonable to assume the Dark One would just, like, murder the sun.
Yeah.
But, yeah, I think it passes relatively quickly. And because it passes relatively quickly, and to, like, me as a real-world reader, I'm like, oh, this is just a celestial phenomenon. Mm-hmm. Phenomena, whatever. I can't remember which one. I'm like, what's the point? Like, In many cultures, like, eclipses signal significant events. You know,
Right.
eclipses, comets, etc., were used in, like, fortune telling and prophecy across many cultures across the globe, and still are today for people, signify significant things changing. So it's not, like, mythologically out of place in terms of an archetype, but it doesn't seem to really fit. I don't know. I'm being maybe a little bit too nitpicky, but I was like, do we also really need to have an eclipse?
I mean, I'm feeling more nitpicky, which is that why isn't everyone going blind when they stare directly at the solar eclipse for several minutes? Also, why is anyone doing eclipse junk when we've already had Avatar: The Last Airbender 2-part episode, Day of the Black Sun?
Day of the Black Sun. Like, come
on!
on!
They did it already. There's nothing left to say about eclipses.
Nope.
Shut the fuck up, Brandon. You don't have the excuse that this book came out before that, because it didn't.
Damn.
Stop it. We then bounce over to too many E names. We bounce over to fucking Elaine, whose army has made it in front of Kyrie. The plan is hold off this army and then turn around and fight another army. Everyone's super tired, and Elaine is like, I gotta inspire some morale for the troops. So she gives the most cringe speech of all time.
Yeah.
It's so clearly like, every time someone in this book gives a speech, Lan did this a little while ago, I think, I'm just like, okay, clearly Brandon Sanderson was like in front of Theoden King in Return of the King, like taking notes.
Yeah. How
How to do a good speech. And it's just like, you can't do it without the emotional weight of context.
Like, literally, I was gonna say the exact same thing. That speech works so well because of, like, the absolute word-by-word world building that J.R. Tolkien did, and then
Theoden's arc as a leader, the fact that it's told primarily through the points of view of Éowyn and Merry, the two lowest status people in the army, everything going on in the other side of the battlefield. Like, shut up.
Yeah, like, that works when the whole project of the book...
Elaine has no business here.
Yeah, Elaine just being like, we fight to die, and you're like, shut up.
What the hell?
Actually, no, Theoden King fights to die. Thank you so much.
Yeah, Theoden King does fight to die. You don't know. He's grieving his son. Stop it. We're saluting.
Look at Tybalt.
Oh, you're tired? You're tired and stupid? No.
Guys, we're
Dopey.
so mean to Tybalt. It's unreal.
If Tybalt understood human language, then he would be like,
I'm calling DCFS.
okay.
But in return, he does bite us, so I guess it's about equal.
Okay. Anyway, Elaine gives this speech and then insists to Brigitte that she is going to fight with the army because most of the other channelers have been totally burnt out making gateways to get the army here on time. You know, Elaine does have a decent argument at this point for being on the front lines, so Brigitte is like, yeah, sure. So we leave them there. Then we bounce over to Iturald, spearheading the non-channeling fighting in Thakandar. The main things about Iturald in this are that he is dealing with some pretty serious PTSD after Meridon. It's unclear, and I can't remember whether Iturald is being manipulated by Grendel. He is notably the first general point of view that we've had, which makes me think that he's not. Because I think if we were through, like, Bashir's point of view while he's getting manipulated, then that would come out in some way. And I don't remember if that's correct, so we'll wait on that. It would make sense to me if it was correct, though, because, I don't know, he's not sleeping. He's not going to be sleeping the same way everyone else is frequently. It's just more Brandon Sanderson being like, look at how good I can do battle plans. You know, like on paper.
Yeah.
Iturald's clever schemes involving thorns and stuff. But yeah, it's just a battle of them fighting Trollocs, pretty standard fare.
Yeah, pretty brutal.
Yeah.
Kind of. I'm a little over the Trolloc brutalization that is happening.
Iturald's like, I lust for blood. And I'm like, okay, if we were like doing an examination of this in the context of your PTSD and like vengeance and the futility of vengeance narratives or something, I don't know, then I might be intrigued by that, but you just sound like everyone else.
Yeah.
Which is, I want these Trollocs dead so bad, and it's like, okay.
What if they have feelings too?
What if they have feelings? Have you thought about that? They don't like fire. They don't like being set on fire. Is that not enough?
Is that not enough? Can you not look into their eyes and see the soul in there?
Jeez. We then get a Swan point of view as Edwene gets back to camp. And when Edwene gets back to camp, we are already, like, seeing the initial approaches of the Shanshin. Like, their little dragon things are already floating around, and Edwene's like, ugh. We also hear that Min has joined Bryn's army and is just working as a clerk, so not a lot she's doing there to be effective. Then we go back to Rand's point of view as they enter the Cave of Wonders.
The cave, capital T, capital C.
The cave does that classic thing that it always does to the Forsaken whenever they visit Daddy, which is that it tries to, like, eat them. But Rand is like, through the power of God and anime on my side, I say no to this. So they managed to not do that. Mm-hmm. Rand on approach is like, uh-oh, something's off with one of the women I've bonded, is like Avienda, Elaine. Min, okay? We, the readers, are pretty aware that Avienda, Elaine, and Min are all okay the last we saw them. Mm-hmm. So you might remember that Rand is bonded to a fourth woman who has been mysteriously missing for the last few days, weeks? I don't know how long it's been. So put a pin in that one, too, I guess. It is pretty iconic of Rand to not think about Alana.
Rand being like,
I don't give a fuck about that.
It's like on the smudged writing on his hand, my four women.
And Angelina? From Survivor 37?
Natalie, can I have your jacket?
Natalie? Stop. Okay, they get to the bottom of the pit, I guess, or this cave, and see a sort of confusing Pieta. Tableau, that's the word I was looking for, but Pieta
way
is so
funnier
much funnier
to think of Moridin holding
Shadar Haran's empty skin bag.
Way funnier. So that's actually what's happening canonically.
No, Moridin's there with, like, sword drawn, ready to fight. Also is the body of Myrdral that has just sort of, like, collapsed and, half turned to dust or whatever. Yeah. And Rand's like, hey, what? Moridin's like, it's an empty vessel. Because behind him is just, like, pitch darkness. And Moiraine's like, Rand, that's the essence of the Dark One himself, so don't touch it. We're like, okay. So this, I guess, finally clarifies to us that Shadar Haran has been the literal physical embodiment of the Dark One for the last several books. That's been sort of unclear.
Yeah.
Wish we'd, I don't know, had that framed sooner.
Yeah. It doesn't really land here.
Yeah, you're just kind of like, wait, what?
Yeah, like, and now that you're saying all these things, it makes sense. And when I was like, oh, that's probably, in hindsight, I remember reading it and being like, oh, the Myrdral has to be that one guy, right?
Yeah.
But I just kind of put all those pieces together that the Dark One has been wandering around.
Yeah, it's like, it's one of those things in Wheel of Time where something has been going on, but we have not given the, like, rule set in terms of magic to fully understand it. Mm-hmm. Like, pretty much everything that happened at the end of the Eye of the World.
Yeah, you bet.
But here again, we're just like, oh, the Dark One can take an avatar? What does that mean?
Yeah.
How does that, like, does that leave him vulnerable in any way?
Yeah.
And we just have been sort of like, don't ask those questions. Shuffle to the side.
It also just kind of bums me out because I know, like, there's a big part of the presentation of evil here. I don't know why I'm trying to, like, speak on behalf of the Dark One in these books and, like, wanting
someone has to champion him.
Yeah,
the only one else doing it is Moridin, and he doesn't even want to be here.
Yeah, Moridin just wants to absolutely get zooted and like eternally zooted.
Rand walks down, Moridin's got a huge bong.
Whatever gets you through the day, am I right?
He's like, it's medicinal, I have a prescription.
So there's like a one of the like gears turning this representation of evil is that evil people are just like creepy and like evil. The dark friends are all like creepy rapists who like eat children and things like that.
They do cannibalism, they do rape, all the things that our good characters would never do.
Yeah, would never do. Like, they're just so nasty, you know? It's not a very philosophical presentation of the dark and the light or good versus evil. So it just kind of bums me out, I guess, that, like, our avatar of the Dark One was, like, also just this creepy guy who I think we've seen Shadar Haran on screen at least go off to commit sexual assault and other types of violence against women and other gross torture things. And it's just like, it feels really small that would be what the Dark One would do in his avatar.
It just, like, minimizes
the
sort of idea of evil generally. Because there's obviously not a lot of nuance in this series about the fact that people can be evil and good and do bad things and good things, and those things, you know, no person is actually evil. No person is actually good.
Yeah.
And so I guess the concept is that, well, our dark, what are they called? The fucking shadow spawn. That's as close to the embodiment of evil that we can get. And it's like, no, that sort of reduces both the shadow spawn and the idea of evil generally, because we know canonically that the shadow spawn are one guy's sort of idea of evil. They're this sort of like Frankenstein's monster that popped out of one of the Forsaken's brains.
Right.
And in that context, they are like a little bit interesting of just like, here's what's his fucking name? Agenor.
That guy? Yeah.
That guy, who I don't really care about, but they are at least, like, a human picture of what evil is. So, the Dark One's stepping into that in terms of being like, I will accept the human idea of me, is very, like, boring. And just like, why would you? You're a cosmic embodiment of evil.
Yeah.
Be a little cosmic.
Yeah.
Be a little Lovecraftian. To just be a guy wandering around is like, hey, where's the pizzazz? Where's the presentation?
Yeah, where's the little jester boy?
Jingle jangle, Dark One, come on.
Where's the jingle jangle?
Where's the jingle jangle of it all?
Je ne sais quoi. Where's the jingle jangle of it all?
Come on.
But
we were all rooting for you.
But yeah, it's like, where's the sort of eldritchy, Lovecraftian?
It just absolutely tanks the fear factor of the Dark One. You're like, oh, he's just a guy.
He's just
we just saw Talmonies in chapter 1.
Nerf 2 of these guys.
Yeah, like 6 of them in a row, no problem, while dying.
Yeah.
So it's just like, okay, can we decide what the threat level of Murdrel is? Anyway, Rand is like, hey, Moridin, do we have to, like, I know we're the avatars of evil and good, but do we actually have to do a sword fight? That seems a little passé.
Yeah.
What didn't you say? And Moridin's like, no, we are absolutely going to do a sword fight. I am sticking to the code. And Rand's like, fucking fine. So they start doing a sword fight.
And you're like, Moridin.
It's a little silly. We do at least get the iconic, I win again, lose Thurin line. That's always a... Now, talking about evil done correctly, that was a great example way back in book 2. If only we'd stuck by that sort of cosmic Lovecraftian evil. I win again, lose Thurin. Anyway, back to Lan, still on the battlefield, but increasingly tired. As he does a retreat, he notices, like, an error on the battlefield in that 2 groups are simultaneously called to back up a different group and sort of makes a mess of the situation. Lan's like, I'm gonna go talk to Agelmar about this. So, more of that. Then a long section with Perrin and Gaul in Teleron Riyadh. Perrin is also now in sort of the dream version of Thakandar and is like, Rand's gone into the cave. I am aware of this.
The cavern.
He's like, Grendel is also around here somewhere because we followed her here. There are also wolves everywhere, and Perrin's like, hey, are you guys gonna do something? And they're like, no. And Perrin's like, what the... Could you?
And they're like, sorry, daddy.
Sorry.
There are rules.
Perrin goes into the cave and sees the sort of like Rand, the tableau again, now with Rand, Nynaeve and Moiraine included, sort of moving in slow motion, I think.
Yeah.
With like, yeah, frozen. But Slayer is also there and is like getting ready to shoot Rand in the back point blank with an arrow. So Perrin, just in time, prevents that from happening and starts fighting Slayer. He like, Gaul's still there. They get like surrounded by these red-veiled ale guys who we talked about at the end of last season or the beginning of this one. You know, ale guys who potentially can channel, who have been turned by the Dark One, and are doing a fight. At some point, Perrin is just like, I have to leave Gaul, and he also calls the wolves to fight these guys so he can sort of take on Slayer one-on-one. Just one of their classic dream sequence fights. But eventually Slayer leaves the dream completely. He has just like gone back to the real world. And Perrin's like, God damn it, I still can't fucking do that.
Yeah.
So angry. But he runs back, finds two of the channelers are still up. Gaul is wounded. A bunch of the wolves are dead. Perrin is like, grabs the ale guys and is like, he does the same thing essentially that Edwin did to Masana in the last book. Was that the last book?
Or the book before one of those two.
Yeah. The phrase he uses is idiot, of just making someone. There's, I think, a spell in D&D that effectively does the exact same thing. It's like, I don't remember what it is, but it's like an evil thing in D&D, very clearly.
Because it is an evil thing to do.
To just, like, wipe someone's mind, reduce them to a vegetative state is essentially what's happening here. Yeah, sort of not really thinking a lot about that. Parents just like, yeah, this is an effective move to disarm someone. And I'm like, what? You can make ropes appear.
Yeah. Perrin also, I think we talked extensively about this with Egg and Masana, so I will just say, Perrin totally willing to do this, not willing to murder these people. So just continue to chew on that.
Yeah, again, so wild.
Meanwhile, Gaul is like...
Gaul's like, what? Why did you do that? Let's kill him.
Yeah.
Gaul also is like, Lanfear shows up and sort of explains what is up with these guys, and Gaul's like, oh, these are my kin, you know, other ale guys who just got turned, and so he's like, brothers. Gives them an honorable death. So again, Gaul remains the only character.
Yeah, who has, I don't know, feeling empathy.
Yeah.
Brothers.
My brothers. But yeah, Lanfear shows up, heals Perrin, and then with some persuasion also heals Gaul.
Yeah.
It's extremely funny that Gaul allows this. I mean, he's a very sensible guy, but you'd just be like, so...
What?
We're gonna let the Forsaken channel on us?
Yeah, and Perrin's like, it's not a big deal, Gaul. And Gaul's like, okay, what isn't a big deal to you? I'm starting to lose track of
very unclear.
The guidelines here, the rule book.
But she literally shows up, heals them, and leaves.
Yeah, it's another, we need to give a kind of a phrase for it, another Lanfearance.
Goodbye. Lanfearance.
It's sort of an amalgamation of Lanfear-appearance and Lanfear-interference.
There's a lot going on. Stupid. Gaul's like, I don't know what this lady's deal is, and Perrin's like, shrug emoji.
And Gaul's like, okay.
Gaul's like, you are a little too focused on the wrong things. And a little unfocused on the wrong things. Man. Anyway, Perrin's like, okay, I can solve one problem, which is that I've got this dream spike burning a hole in my pocket. I'll just go put that in Shale Goal to make sure no one else can just apparate in there and kill Rand and the others while they're fighting. I don't know how well this works in, like, the world of dreams. Like, I guess, like, you can't apparate into it. You have to appear at the entrance. Yeah. I forgot how dream spikes would work for a second. So, effectively, this will protect Rand in both the world of dreams and Shale Goal, as long as someone is keeping a watch on the outside, which Tom is doing in the real world, and now Perrin enlists the wolves to do it in tell her on Riyadh. Perrin hilariously, like, gets in there and sets it up and is like, Nynaeve, can you hear me? And Nynaeve's like, Perrin? Sometimes I can still hear his voice. So sort of a ghost experience.
Yeah.
But Perrin's like, hey, you're not going to be able to travel. And Nynaeve's like, okay. It wasn't like my plan,
Yeah.
but okay.
Good to know.
Then when Perrin gets out, after spending 5 minutes in there, Gaul's like, dude, that took forever. And Perrin's like, oh, it's in and out, man. And Gaul's like, no, you're in there 2 hours.
Yeah.
So gives us a sense of the sort of time dilation thing that's going on. And then Perrin and Gaul are like, all right, check box that, and back to investigating Grendel. End of section.
End of list.
End of list. So, that's that. We will be taking a week break for a little vacation that we're both going on, but we'll be back after that with another couple of chapters, sort of extending along this basic storyline, you know. Things are not spiking upward in terms of action, but they are on a slow uphill slope. Lots of things happening in lots of places. But thank you for listening. Thanks to Glenna McKenzie for our theme song. Thanks to our patrons on Patreon and our followers on social media.
Yeah, you guys are the best, and we love you a lot.
Yeah, yeehaw. Anything to add?
I don't think so, and I'm trying to think of a sign-off.
You want me to do one?
If you have one, I'm totally blank.
My mom, when she travels, and also sometimes when she doesn't travel, takes Ambien to help her sleep. She's got major sleep issues. So the other night I picked her and my dad up from the airport. They just had a long flight from a trip that they'd been on. And my dad, like, that morning had texted me and my siblings, like, Mom is stoned out of her mind on Ambien. And I was like, oh, that's so funny. He's just pulling her leg. But get in the car, we're chatting, and I'm like, oh, so you had too much Ambien or something, Mom? And she goes, I don't remember getting on the plane.
Oh, my God, Rebecca.
And I was like, hey. She's like, I just sort of woke up there. And I was like, bestie?
Becky, I don't think an airport is a great place to be without your wits about you.
And then my dad was like, we had to hold her hands for the entire, like,
Just
to get,
dragging her on the
literally
plane.
just towing her around. He's like, I was so worried she was going to say something weird.
Yeah.
Because when she's on Ambien, she says odd shit all the time.
I need you to stop saying odd shit.
So, yeah, that's my mom. Local drug addict. Local prescription drug abuse. I was like, how did you overdose on Ambien? And she's like, I don't know. I thought I took only an extra 5 milligrams, but maybe I took an extra 10. And I'm like,
I don't know if you're supposed to take extra milligrams of
no!
Ambien. I think that's like kind of the point, Becky. Oh my God.
I don't remember getting on the plane.
I don't remember getting on the plane.
You're an insane woman. Okay, everyone.
Everyone say a little thanks to the universe that Becky made it home safe.
Goodbye, everyone.
Bye.